too cold, not too hot. And I did lots of walking. And even though it was a very good day, like all good days, it has left me very much wanting some coziness. So I figured I would do just some simple little hand sounds for y'all tonight. Something light. And a little bit rambly. I really like hands. In general, I think they say a lot about a person. And that's a very old sentiment that I think a lot of people have. You know, you can tell a lot about a person by their hands. When I was pretty young, I watched Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. And there's a scene towards the end where the old workers in the town, my cat just snored. It's a very cute snore. She's sleeping right next to me. The very old workers in their town are showing their hands to the sort of colonizers of their simple land. And the colonizers are a very warlike people. And I believe in the scene they're showing it to the sort of noble woman. Although some of the details are getting a little bit foggy for me. I should rewatch it soon. And I want to say the workers are miners, but I don't actually think they are. I think they're just farmers. I think they're farmers. But they're showing their hands to this noble lady, and they're saying that these are the hands of a worker. These are someone who's lived their life well. And the hands themselves are like, gnarled, and they have calluses on them. But they're so beautiful. They're so beautiful. And I remember whenever I was little, I used to like to press on my mom's veins on her hands. And she felt self-conscious about it. I remember that was kind of one of the first times that I sometimes just being there for a person and not saying anything and letting them take care of themselves in front of you and with you is an important form of care to show. Being able to care for people directly is also very important and good, of course. But whenever someone is comfortable enough to take care of themselves in front of you and with you in a way that they need, I feel like that's another kind of special form of intimacy. I crack my fingers a lot. I crack my fingers a lot. Crack, 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 crack. Crack, 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 crack. I'm not gonna do it right now because I feel like that would trigger some people's ASMR, but other people it would trigger them in a different way. So I'ma not do that, but I used to be very worried about how much I cracked my fingers. I thought that it was a really big problem. I was afraid that I would ruin my hands. And maybe I was right to be afraid. I'm not. Let's see. A lot of people said that it was a urban myth that cracking your fingers is bad for you. I feel like that was a revelation of the early 2000s, right? Like, cracking your fingers isn't actually that bad. We can calm down about it. But I don't know, some deep part of me, some deep fearful part of me is unconvinced. I feel like it can't be good for you. It feels too good to be good for you. It hurts too good. But I still crack them quite a bit. I've always had pretty flexible fingers as well. Whenever I was a kid in maths, one of the things that I did when I was bored was just try and contort my fingers in different shapes. I think church services for children, at worst, are kind of really, they can be very bad propaganda machines and toxic internal messaging machines. At least for me, though, most of the toxic messaging that I got was more from larger American, like uniquely services, religious services, from that kind of American messaging. Not that all American messaging is bad, just the kind of Christo-American stuff tends to sway a little bit negatively in my experience, but the Catholic Mass is standardized and has been standardized for so long that it doesn't, it's not as infected, I guess. Anyway, that's a whole nother ramble. And I'm not saying that Catholic Masses in my life have been perfect. There's certainly been some weird things that have been said during Mass. Very, very, dare I say, disagreeable things. But as a kid, how did this start? Oh gosh. As a kid. Oh yes, despite the sometimes toxic messaging that that Mass and other church services can subject children with their little baby multiple minds to. Despite that, I do think that church services can serve a very good function in a child's life, which is a couple good functions actually. One of them is learning how to be bored, though. And I'm not saying that church is the only way that kids can learn how to be bored. I know there's plenty. And I'm sure for a lot of us, school taught that in one way or another. We're just, sit still and be quiet. The kids are told that all the time in all kinds of different circumstances. But Mass is one place where I learned how to be bored and to sit with my thoughts and to be entertained by them without distractions that were outside of my own body. I think Mass is also church in general, I should say, and also religious services in general. I think they're a very good way to integrate music into our lives from an early age. I think music is important. I read a poem by Anthony Weir, I believe it was, the other day, and I don't remember it perfectly, but it was a short poem, and it was something like, except for our tongue, except for our, excrement, which bugs like to eat, and except for our flesh, which can be taken into the earth and used by the soil and by microorganisms to feed on, except for our bones, which serve X, Y, or Z process in the food chain, and except for our sweat, and except for our blood. Music is perhaps the only beautiful thing man contributes. I don't think I agree with that. I think humans are very beautiful for all sorts of reasons. But I enjoyed the poem. Anthony Weir, for some reason I'm feeling insecure about his name. I should check that and make sure that I have it right. But he's been one of my favorite his mood. I feel very validated by the things that he's written and the things that he's done. I think his website is called, or not his website, his sort of web page that is a chain of websites. It's called Dissident Websites. Dissident, 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 dissident. Dissident, dissident, dissident. I'll do some hand movements. Here's a classic. Here's the church. Here's the steeple. Open the door, and there's all the people. Here's the church. Here's the steeple. Open the door, and there's all the people. Does anyone know the origin of that? Such a good little thing for grandparents to show their grandkids. I thought it was so magical. I remember I must have been like 2 years old whenever my grandmother showed me that little rhyme, and I was absolutely enchanted. I asked her to do it again and again and again, and I learned it myself, and I kept doing it for, well, it felt like a long time, but I don't know, 2-year-old brains are interesting. It might have only been like 2 minutes. 2 minutes is a big fraction of one's life when you're only 2 years old. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you're feeling nice and cozy and sleepy.